Hello, everyone, and welcome to Loud and Proud Orlando. It's December 22nd, 6:39 p.m. Thank you so much for your support. We're live on X and YouTube, as well as other social media outlets. Thank you for your support. I'm here with John Rollins and David G. We're going to be talking about the latest news for Orlando City, the Tiago signing from Bahia FC in the Serie A of Brazil. Also, pretty much confirmed per various sources, Luis Otávio and Coronel as well are incoming Orlando City players. Luis Muriel possibly on the way out. We'll discuss that and more. We'll just kind of do a little rundown of our super draft pick reactions, and then Tyrese Spicer renewing with Orlando City already. You know, a fan favorite, and also we'll give our sentiment to Marcos Machado. He retired on the goalkeeper coach for both Orlando City and Orlando Pride for many years. So with that, John, how are you, my friend? Good to see you.
I'm great, man. Yeah, it's another exciting week here. I didn't think we'd have this much news going on before Christmas happened, but lots to talk about, lots to get into. So I'm excited for Christmas and all these new players.
That's right. David, how are you, my friend? Good to see you again.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Having a great night. Hoping we get one or two more Christmas gifts before the holiday. That would be mighty stellar. But guess we'll have to see how quickly those wheels turn.
That's right. So we're gonna be starting with a piece of news of Tiago coming into and arriving into Orlando City, pretty much just signed from Bahia FC. I've heard about this kid. This kid is really well regarded in the Brasileirão. He's a winger. He's comes with a 20-year-old under 22 initiative roster spot. He's going to be taking for Orlando City. He's under contract right now until 2027-2028 MLS season with an option of 2028-2029. And he comes from a small club in Brazil, but a very faithful club. 11 goals, 3 assists in 52 matches in the Brasileirão. Probably one of the most dynamic wingers of his age group in Brazil, a top target for several big Brazilian powerhouses like Flamengo, Palmeiras, where Orlando City outbid all of them. And he's going to be joining a Orlando-led attack by Martin Ojeda, Marco Pasalic, and Duncan Maguire. So for starters, I believe this signing is a very important one. I think it definitely is a player that could play both flanks, and it adds extra competition to not only Tyrese Spicer, but also to the winger corps on both sides. So Pasalic will have a big job cut out for him as well. Angulo, for sure, is going to have a fire lit underneath him to be competing with this kid. Yutaro Sukada, if he doesn't want to just be a depth player, he's also going to have it cut it out for him if he's going to make the first team. So Tiago comes with hungry to not only score goals, but to make his mark in the MLS. I see this, and not to compare, comparison sometimes could be a little complicated, but I see this as a kind of Brenner signing. When Brenner first arrived, even though he was a little bit more established, I think this has a potential to be a really good signing for Orlando City. Definitely for the amount of the fee, this is not a Nico Rodriguez type of signing. This is a signing that is ready to start playing week one. It depends on, again, and I think we touched it briefly on the last spot, it depends on Oscar. I have a feeling that Oscar gave his blessing out of that signing. So he's definitely going to be, hopefully, in the starting 11 for Orlando City in 2026, alongside Marco Pasalic on the right, starting on the left side. So let's start with John. John, what are your thoughts on the signing of Tiago Souza?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm excited. I think I've said this before. It's not. Some people think it's the same as other times when we gone out and got U22s. I think these U22s that we're looking at here with Tiago and Luis Otávio are like almost double what we would usually spend. I mean, I forget exactly what they reported. What was it, like 4 million, Luis, for this one?
Yeah, it's around that, I believe.
So I think that's about double what we usually spend on a U22. So I think we're kind of taking it up a notch and going after the guys that are, you know, at a higher level. And I think for me, like, he's a very exciting player that can do a lot of different things. Clearly, he's physical and he got all the skills that we're going to need. So I just depends, you know, how quickly he can come into MLS, what his level's going to be. Is he going to be a guy that can just arrive immediately and score goals? I hope so. I mean, a lot of people calling this guy the, you know, Ramiro replacement. I don't know if it's fair to like apples to apples them like that, but in positionally, there's some similarities. He's a U22, Ramiro is a U22. So there are some similarities there on a very raw level, but I don't think they're like the same player at all. I think Tiago's got a lot more muscle to him, and I think he looks like a guy that can, you know, he just wants to, like Ricardo saying, you know, he wants to unlock defenses, and that's what I see from him. Is he's a guy that's like, let me see what I can do, whether that's creatively or whether he's like a 1v1, let me go past you kind of guy. Which, if you've got Spicer that's trying to do that like that, and you've got, you know, hopefully you've got Ojeda doing that in somewhere on the field, and you've got Marco Pasalic doing that. Like, with the more guys, I think, that have that creativity and that desire to take somebody on or to create something that's a little bit more magical and special, those moments of brilliance, like that's what we want on this team, because I think that's really what takes you over the line in MLS. That's what, you know, the GOAT did for Lionel Messi this year for Miami.
Yeah, so they call it the new Brazilian X Factor. It's about between $4 million, is what it says. Bahia retains a 25% sell-on clause, 52 appearances across all competitions, 11 goals, 3 assists. He was the best player in the Copa do Nordeste. He scores about 6 goals. He also scored a hat-trick in the final. So in Brazil, they play regional cups. So it's like we would have a Florida Cup here, but it actually counts as a title. So Bahia comes from winning their particular region. So he's an inverted left winger. He's right-footed, but he could play with both feet, knowingly for his 1v1 dribbling. So obviously, and I'm going to ask David now, you know, with Ivan Angulo struggling for goals in 2025, 0 goals for Ivan Angulo in 2025. Do you feel Tiago provides, you know, a upgrade on the left flank?
Yeah, I think it's hard to think that he wouldn't, right? I mean, the one thing we want to give Ivan Angulo his plaudits for is that he played well defensively. Not so much as I know some people like to put the rumor out there that maybe he can transition to left back or left wing back. I've got some issues with that. We won't touch that now, but there's just some stuff there. But I think what you're going to get in Tiago, the first thing I want to put in everyone's head, he's young, so he's going to take time, regardless of how he does it. I really doubt he comes in here and he lights the league on fire in the first 5 games and things are changing. As much as we'd love to have that happen, it's just not going to, especially with U22s. I think what people should expect, though, if you look at some of his game footage, if you look at some of his highlights, the nice thing about him is he's going to play direct, just like Marco Pasalic kind of did. I don't think he has as much of a weapon with his left foot, obviously, as Marco Pasalic does, but he's going to play super direct, and he's going to get into places where he's going to be dangerous. And so the one thing that you got to love about his gameplay, and the stats kind of back him up on this, his 1v1 ability is pretty elite when you go and look at the people in a similar position, right? So that's really what you're looking for there. And not to take away from Angulo, but he had moments as well where obviously he'd burn a guy off the line and, you know, he's not going to catch him, right? He's going to put it in a goal. But I think the difference is between what you're getting in Ivan Angulo and what you're getting in Tiago is Tiago's going to finish the ball that he's going to get in, right? How many times last year did we see Ivan Angulo just miss another opportunity that he had. He had some really big ones. You were like, okay, that's got to be an automatic goal, and it wasn't, right? It wasn't put in the net. So you're going to get that. I think the thing that is really shaping up to, especially going into the next preseason that we're only a couple of weeks away from at this point, is I'm really curious to see the competition between Spicer and Tiago. I think that's where you're going to see the big competition. I think Spicer probably wins that role just because of the amount of time that he spent with Orlando already and how he came in so hot, obviously coming in midseason and whatnot. But don't be surprised if Tiago pushes him a little bit. I think Tiago's a little bit more physical than what we've seen out of Spicer. He's definitely more physical than what you've seen out of Angulo. So this guy's going to give you a different look. And the nice thing is, as Luis kind of talked about already, he can play a bunch of different spots across the front line, right? Even people down in Brazil were saying in the academy, he often played as the second striker, or if they were down a goal, they were willing to kind of put him up in that striker role so they could bring another winger on. So don't forget about that positional flexibility that he can have, because he does score goals from different parts of the box. He's not just coming in from the left and then hitting it on the right, right? He's able to kind of get it wherever. So I'm really curious to see how that shakes out. But the other thing, too, that I want to keep in people's minds, Angulo is Poppy's guy, right? He has been since Angulo got here. And so I know we've heard the reports about, they had a serious conversation with Angulo and said, hey, you're second or third on the depth chart or whatever it is. But we know Poppy likes to stick with his habits. So don't be surprised if you start to see Angulo get those starts early in preseason, or maybe even to begin the season, depending on where we're at. With Spicer and Tiago, they're going to have to fight for the spot. And I think the talent's there for both of them to do it.
Yeah, I do believe that you're spot on there, and yeah, I could tell also as a good point that you make with the fandom. It's this is not definitely is a kid that has a high ceiling, but like we've seen it even with the current roster of Orlando City. I mean, if the OGs will remember, I'm sure when first Martin Ojeda came in, he didn't explode right on the first season. Same with Ramiro Enrique. He didn't explode much on the first season. But I do feel that as a little different than Martin and Ramiro, this kid comes from winning. So that's one big difference here. So this kid just became champions of his region. And in Brazil they take that very serious. So because you're the best you're like the best in your state, So he was a champion MVP of that tournament, and not only that, under 20 Brazilian national team, and obviously that's the reason why the kid cost over $4 million than what maybe Ramiro or Martin cost Orlando City when they first arrived. So, and coming from even way smaller clubs than Bahia, right? So. Yeah. I don't know. What are your thoughts, John, on the impact that this kid may have in the Orlando City roster?
I think you think about comparatively, right? He costs almost about the same amount that Marco Paslic costs. Maybe not in wages because he's not going to be a DP, but like if you're paying that much money. So I think we're using the U22 system really well and going after a guy that's, he's a young, impressive player in South America that they probably wouldn't want to lose out of the Brazilian league, that Argentinian top teams would happily have signed to be like, let's put him in our team and see what he can do. So it's very exciting. I think he's a great prospect. Like I said, it just depends where he's going to fit. I think it's great that he has this positional flexibility. We were talking about how we don't have anybody behind Martin Ojeda. So maybe this is like now one guy that you can say he can play that same central attacking mid role. So it's great news. We got that one locked down. I was expecting when they teased it to be Luis Otávio because he was the one that came before in the pipeline. But I think
I think Bahia beat us to the punch, right? I think they put something out there before.
There's a lot of there was reports about him coming in, and maybe that leads us nicely, Luis, onto talking about Luis Otávio and what's happening there. Oh, you're muted, bro.
Sorry. My apologies. So, yeah, Luis Otávio, midfielder international. Right now, what's being reported in Brazil, and I think it will be announced fairly soon for Orlando City, is that he's signed already for Orlando City, about 3.5 million. That's what it says. Over 17 million reais, which is the Brazilian currency. Versatile midfielder. He's going to also occupy under 22 initiative spot. He replaces the outgoing Cesar Araujo, or even Wilder on his role. In 2025, he was also called up by the Brazilian national team for the under 20s. He's been heavily monitored by several clubs in Brazil, also abroad, and obviously minor leagues in Europe, like Belgium and other Poland and things like that. He's had a high recovery rate when it comes to playing the six, and he's had one of the best passing rate in Brazilian Serie A for his position. So definitely another, possibly not a name player, but it's a high upside player, just like we signed Cesar Araujo, And so when Cesar first arrived, there was a lot of doubt as well when he arrived into Orlando City, and if this kid was going to be a stud, if this kid's is ready to go. Now, this kid, just like Tiago, comes from a really with a club that has won several accolades in Brazilian soccer. They're not Grêmio historically, but they are a team that has a really good front office. Is a team that always competes to be on the top 5 in Brazil. So he comes from a really good academy, good system, and the kid's like ready to win. So again, this is another really good signing, under 22 signing. It's an upgrade, I believe, coming from getting Cesar Araujo for way less from a club that really barely won ever. And, with all the respect to Montevideo Wanderers, but, compared Wanderers to Internacional is like comparing a dirt bike to a Maserati, you know what I mean? It's completely two different worlds. So this kid comes, I feel, ready to take one of the double pivot roles, in my opinion. Again, it depends on Oscar Pareja, but I feel very confident this kid's going to be a stud from minute one. So what are your thoughts, David, on the signing of Luis Otávio coming from Internacional?
Yeah, so what's funny about Luis Otávio is I posted on Twitter after quoting one of the various Internacional sites who said it was basically done and over the line and whatnot. I've been following this kid for over 2 months now. I think I was thankfully one of the first people to kind of catch wind of this guy and kind of looked into him. I was lucky enough to watch, I think, his last 6 games with Internacional. I know he technically should have had 2 more, but he was out injured. I put that in quotes, but everyone said it was precautionary because they didn't want the sale to fall through and whatnot. This kid is every bit that you want him to be and more, right? I mean, the first thing is the Internacional fans did not want to lose this guy. They're very upset that they were selling him, especially for the fee that they were selling him at. If you're not familiar with Brazilian football, Internacional almost got relegated this year, which was a big deal for them. They saved themselves from being relegated, but they were looking at him as a building stone for next year, and so they're not going to have him now. But the kid just has this natural confidence on the ball that just, for his age, is like ridiculous, right? Like, he's just really patient on the ball. He's very composed. He doesn't let the press or anything else kind of get to him, which is really great. His distribution is really good. I would argue it's better than Cesar's whenever we've had Cesar here. The other thing that also separates them a little bit is for Otavio, he also really knows how to like get in passing lanes and intercept the ball. I know sometimes Cesar would do that, but this guy really just has a knack for being in the right spot at the right time and being able to take the ball off of somebody. The only thing I'll say, and again, he's young, so I'm not going to dog on the guy, just like we talked about our college kids, earlier this week. He seems to be caught in 2 minds sometimes. And as with a young footballer, of course, playing at the level that you're playing with Internacional, it's going to happen, right? But that's the one thing I would say, that when you go into it, you're going to see moments where he gets caught between lines, or he's not sure if he should step or if he should stay back. And so that's something, though, that good coaching is going to take to the next level, right? They'll figure it out with him when they get him on the training ground and run, the way they want to run, the various formations and tactics that they're going to run. So to me, not a huge concern, but you'll see those moments where he takes like a half a second, a little bit too long on this, or he might not step there, and those kind of things. So that's the one thing that you can be glad about. The other thing, too, is that he's not really disciplined all that often. So he's probably not going to be a yellow card machine like Cesar was for us over the years. So you can take solace in that a little bit. But he still knows how to get stuck in. So I don't want it to seem like he doesn't know when to go into a tackle. So really exciting stuff. I mean, no offense to Tiago, but this is my guy. Like, I think he's every bit of a defensive midfielder that we want, and he's going to be a great replacement for Cesar, and I think could even have a higher ceiling than what Cesar has. So,
I mean, at 18 years old, he costs almost as much as Tiago. So yeah, you gotta think like, development
100%.
and like how much you're willing. Like at 18, like I said this before, if you look at like 18 years old defensive midfielders who are being sold for $3.5 million, right, roughly, there's probably not many, and those that are probably going to like big clubs because they are touted to be a wonder kid or major youth prospect globally in that position. So for Luis Otávio, it's the same thing. I think like he's a guy that if Real Madrid signed to 18 and put them in their system and said we're gonna play him through the ranks of the Real Madrid system, nobody would blink an eye on them spending $3.5 million on this guy. So we signed him to play him as a starter. Like, I totally see it that way. I think if you're 18 years old and Luis Otávio and Orlando City comes and they say you're going to come play in the MLS first team minutes, he's like, great. Like, I don't think he's moving to be a what if thing. So I think it's really going to be him and Wilder as our starting two would be my assumption. Like, it's kind of his spot to lose. Maybe I'm over anticipating what he can do, but I think, like you said, all the reasons you said there, like he just looks like a very well developed, intelligent, all-rounded midfielder for 18 years old, and you just don't see that very often. And when you do, it usually signals that they're going to be a really, really good player.
He's been also described in Brazil as a very combative player. When it comes to the 1v1, not afraid of the tackle, but not a lot like David was saying, not a lot of a yellow card or red card rate relative to his minutes on the field. So I think that's definitely a plus. So he can definitely recoup the ball cleanly, probably more clean than Cesar, right? And the interception is mainly his strength. Obviously, like you guys were already saying, he's definitely a player that just fits Orlando City's current system. He could play as a 6, he could play as an 8. He has over 20 plus professional matches in Brazil, and obviously Oscar's record on track record on to handling the locker room with South American talent, it kind of suggests that he's going to come to already a very well-structured environment with Oscar at the head. So I have a feeling that, if anything else gets in the way, he will succeed very quickly. Also, another thing that I had on my notes, but he's going to be able to push Edward Atuesta higher up the pitch, which is kind of more of what Atuesta was doing in LA. Now, last season, our midfield was was jelly. It was just, we depended on the double pivot for so long, for over 2 seasons playing like that. And then, we had to put all the eggs in the basket of Gerbe, make sure he's not injured. And also put our eggs in the basket of Atuesta, Kyle Smith. So a lot of replacements in that area. Now we're getting back Wilder. Obviously, it's not going to probably be the same. Hopefully it is. But we have to be completely honest and objective here. But we have a kid now that's hungry, that's fit, that has played the 6 and the 8. And I think our double pivot is probably going to be back, pushing players like Gerbe, like even Atuesta, especially Atuesta more than Gervais. Atuesta higher up, and definitely that's making it things easier also for Martin Ojeda, which is going to be our 10.
But
So
Luis, I think it depends on the game, right? I think if Poppy wants to go into games and be a little bit more offensive, instead of playing the double pivot, you might play one of Cartagena or Otavio, and then have
true,
Atuesta
that
really
too.
play that box to box. So I think that what it gives us that we didn't have last year was the flexibility. We asked Atuesta to do stuff he really wasn't good at last year, and we saw him kind of fall off at the end of last year, with even fans being like, get him out. And it was like, okay, guys, did we forget about the first half of the season where, he actually played pretty well and was sometimes the best player on the field? So to me, get Atuesta out of the spots he shouldn't be in. That's number
100%.
one. And you could do that with Otavio. And again, we know that Cartagena was training at the end of last season. He was in a lot of those like training sessions and whatnot. You assume he's going to come into the preseason fit enough to play with the team and whatnot. But who knows what he has so far? He's going to have to build back up to fitness. And like you said, Luis, we hope he's the same Cartagena, but we don't know if he will be until he gets on the pitch. So we'll have to see what that looks like. But if that means Otavio has to come in and hold it down for a little while and do his thing, then I have confidence that I think this guy can do it. Now it's up to Ricardo in the front office to make sure that when he comes in and Tiago comes in, that they're well set and put together, and that they don't have any of the distractions of the outside world. They can go play at the parks after we get through the training sessions and do what we need to go do. But also make sure their home lives are all taken care of and things like that. I think that's what makes bringing these South Americans in, is important. We got to make sure we take care of them.
Right. And John, what are your thoughts on Luis Otávio, his impact? Do you feel maybe, Papi is not known to kind of risk changing certain things tactically? Do you feel like David, do you feel like he would be willing to put,
I
depending on how he looks in the
I
beginning
like
of
the
the season?
optimism of what Dave's saying, and I think that
Yeah.
we will want to think that's going to happen. But I think what's going to happen is Oscar's going to be like, "Great, I've got me two really solid sixes, and he's
for
gonna
sure.
flop them." And most of the time, that's what we'll
Yeah.
see. And I think he'll just love the idea of Wilder being back in there, because I think it's not only Wilder's defensive ability. It's just like his intelligence, his calmness, like the safety net that he provides in front of, like when he was there in front of Jansen and whoever, we always look solid, right? And then you took him out. Jansen looks a lot, older and like a little bit less solid. And, we have whoever, different guys coming through. So I think Oscar would probably like to get back to that, double six in front of his back line. I would like to agree. I think you could definitely play a combination of, we'll see what happens. But the other thing I was thinking about is maybe we've just been missing some Brazilians. We've been a little light on Brazilians, right? And Orlando City is not Orlando City unless we got some Brazilians. So maybe Tiago and Luis these are the boys we need. So, pick up a little bit more of our heritage and, our roots. And maybe that's the fire. I was thinking about how our neighbors down south are very, Argentina leaning. So maybe we just need to lean into the Brazilian vibes and just bring all the Brasileiros here,
No, that's right. Let's read some comments real quick here. We have a few. Landon says, excited for Coronel. Thank you, my friend. Mr. Donnie Moore, 3842, says, very excited about all the latest signings. Well done, front office. Also, +++ extending Spicer. There you go. Good job. Thank you, Mr. Donnie. Oracle0711 says, hey, guys, good evening. What a great batch of signings. Excited for preseason to get here. I think, aren't we all? I think definitely can't wait to see the new signings. I can't wait to see Sakata, hopefully, as well. What is true about what is it? Is it true, the rumor about Robert Lewandowski coming into Orlando City? We'll discuss that in just a moment. but this is Death Walker 407. Any word on Sakata? Well, I personally don't have any word. All I know is that he's gonna definitely be part of the preseason, since from my understanding. So we'll see. I mean, it's just so unfortunate, because I have a feeling that if this kid would have never gotten injured, that left flank would have been his.
Well, I don't know if Spicer's here, because if he's not injured, I don't know if we can pull the move for Spicer. So, I mean, we can play this a couple different ways. I think the last I heard from some folks is that he was doing some off-season training regimens and stuff like that. I guess the staff gave him some stuff to do. So from what I understand, he's back training. So I'd love to see him back in preseason. He was tearing it up before that horrific injury. So I hope he's back to the level.
Yep, and it says here, Orlando City, says Jeffrey O, needs to go Dr. Doom level and win at all costs. There you go. We gotta find Captain America. You know, we gotta get him. We gotta, you know, he disrupted time. Josh Tall 23 says, let's go excited about the new signings. Yeah, I mean, it's exciting signings to me. I think John and David make good points. I feel, you know, you just don't throw 3.5 million on players that are definitely not going to have some sort of impact in your
also
team.
Can we have the spending conversation? I mean, this is what, almost $8 million in spend right now on 2 U22 spots. And I mean, like, I know I keep seeing this thing about, oh, we're not spending, the Wilfs don't spend. That's $8 million right there on 2 players under 22. I hate to break it to you, but they're spending. And we're about to bring in a goalkeeper. I know he's a free agent, but we're about to go pay this dude and do all that kind of stuff. So I listen, I'm not trying to like set anything off here, but
light a
like,
fire.
we're spending. I mean, we are. I hate to break it to you. Maybe it's not as quickly as you'd like, but it's happening.
Yeah. I think also there's a high chance. I mean, we'll talk about, I think it kind of leads us nicely to what Tom was saying in his latest that he put out today. He did all 30 teams. And, you know, the Luis Muriel move out is only because we're going to go spend more money, right?
100%.
Luis, do you want to talk about Luis and what's happening there?
Well, like I said on the last spot, Luis Muriel is half naked on top of a roof shooting fireworks, drinking a bunch of beer, eating a lot of food, a lot of carbs, and not doing a lot. He's definitely completely...
He's not training. I can tell you that.
He's definitely not training. He's definitely not doing what Duncan McGuire is doing. He is excited that his boyhood club won the league, and he's getting a hefty paycheck, prize money for that. And yes, there's quite a lot of interest of Junior, and also from Deportivo Cali, which is Pedro's new club, Galese. And yeah, I think it's something that the club is actively being doing. It's just a matter of convincing Muriel and Junior to pay. The club, I think, already knows they're going to lose some money because they're going to have to put some cash for sure. But obviously the return they're going to get is going to be a transfer that is going to clear the books for them to sign a better DP. Now, is it going to be Robert Lewandowski? I highly doubt. Is it going to be what other player they're saying that they think it's coming? Richarlison? I really don't think so. All I can tell you is it's probably going to be better than Luis Muriel, right? I think that was, I believe, one of the last Luis Musi signings. So again, we have a new sheriff in town, and we got to learn from our mistakes. If we have to get younger but spend a little more for somebody that has scored over 16 goals in a season in a better league than the MLS, then so be it. There's, for example, this kid that's playing in the Ecuadorian league that just won the championship there, Espinelli, scored over 17 goals there. Dude's like Argentinian. He's a beast. So there's a couple of unknown kind of, on a good age players that, you could put down 9 million or 8 million even and sign a really good striker. But it has to make sense, right? I mean, it has to be usually the product for Orlando City, it's been flanks, fast, speedy flanks. And most of our goals since Facu came into the team have come from the sides. We have not seen a Daryl Dike type striker in a long time. Daryl Dike was just a beast. He would just go through defenses like nothing. Then I think that's what the fans are missing. And that will be a really good addition at the 9, you know. Now, the good thing is we also have Duncan McGuire practicing, doing work off season, making himself not only physically healthier than last season, but making sure that he has no nagging injuries, that he's sharp, that he's ready to go in preseason. And yeah, I just can't wait for Muriel is a must. I think it's a must. And I think the club is definitely going to do something that it's going to, I know, take the L for some of it, but also guaranteeing that we're going to get a better play out of it.
Well, let me say this, Louis. Let me say this,
Yeah,
Luis. The thing that's interesting is I wanted to give a shout out to Mike from Lions Den, because he asked Tom Bogert about kind of what we could do to get Muriel off the books. And the way that Tom kind of explained it was, let's say, he's owed $4 million next year, right? If we loan him, and I put that in quotes because it gets a little messy, but we loan him to Junior, and let's say Junior says we're willing to put up $2 million, right, as his salary. We can then turn around and kind of say to Muriel, hey, we'll give you the other $2 million, but we want you to walk away after this is all said and done. Do your season with Junior, do what you're going to do. Here's the other $2 million, but you're off our books. See you later. Goodbye. So that's kind of how the math works. I know a lot of people were wondering how that works out. That's kind of the way that you play it. And you have to kind of put it in the context of a loan on the MLS side, because it's just an easier way than saying, hey, we're doing the buyout and we're going to pay him the whole thing. We don't want to pay him the whole thing. We would have bought him out weeks ago if we were willing to pay him the whole chunk. But our hope is that we talk to Junior and say, hey, if you're going to give him $2 million or 2.5 or whatever it's going to be, we'll come in for the rest of the money, and then we'll say, hey, Luis, thanks so much, but there's the door.
It's a transfer.
Kind of same as it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
we had I was talking with Mike about that last week after we posted this, and he was saying it wasn't possible. So there was confusion there, and like Tom had to weigh in and clear up.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is a possible thing that can be done. So like you said, it's just you're buying him down essentially, so he's no longer a DP like in that level, and you're basically paying off some of his contract to then be able to make a deal that works for everybody. And I've been messaging guys, like I'm sure lots of people have, from Colombia, who've been talking about how much they want him there. And so it seems like he wants to go there. I think we have a desire to make it happen. I think all parties are like, yeah, let's make it happen. So I honestly think he went and might not ever, like, he mentally might not be coming back here. Right? You know what I mean? Like sometimes players do that. They'll be like, I want to make a move. They'll literally go to that place, and then they'll be like, I'm just going to call my agent and say, I'm not going back. So maybe Muriel has already decided this is happening, and it's just a matter of time. But the biggest question we had this offseason is, do we have the ambition to move on from Luis Muriel and then go and find a guy? So I think a lot of this questions around, like, what are we going to do? Are we going to make a move? Are we going to really be ambitious this offseason? This is the biggest signal of what we could have done. So I'm excited. However it happens, I don't care. Even if we pay his whole contract to get him ready for a year, I don't care. Just, you cannot pitch everybody on a brand new reloaded team with this guy leading the line. It's a massive waste of resources. So, and I'm sure Ricardo knows that he needs that money, those wages, to be able to maneuver in other places and do what he wants to do. Cooking involves getting rid of the old ingredients first.
Yeah, and I want to say hello to Mike from the Lions Den. We mentioned it on the pod series for Hot Takes as well. If you watched, and I know that you have, so thank you so much for everybody that watched the series of videos. On the last video that we posted, rebuild not reload not rebuild, sorry. We said it, and technically it is exactly what David said. So number one, you have to understand that the MLS rules are confusing as hell. That's number one. I think
literally, look how many people had to confused, right?
It is, and again, kudos to Mike and kudos to David for doing that whole translation. But for like people from Junior and for people from all over the world, like they don't understand that stuff. So, but yeah, it's exactly what we said that day. It's essentially Orlando's gonna say, look, I'm gonna put $2 million, you put the other $2 million, and then we call it a transfer. It's technically on the MLS side is a loan, but technically it's not a loan. So again, that is something that needs to be kind of fixed. But it's just our rules, and in a way, it makes the American League more. I actually, in a way, like it. That's a little bit confusing that we have kind of our own way of dealing with cash spend and
some MLS sicko stuff. If you want to
right,
get deep into that,
like that
go read the roster rule handbook. Like, oh,
right. I actually like the structure because you would have imagined how bad it is in other countries, and there's a lot of corruption because there's not a lot of structure and that level of transfers and in and outs. So I actually, even though it's confusing, I appreciate it personally on a personal level.
Well, Luis, some would argue that there's some corruption in this league too, but I won't open that Pandora's box.
I'm gonna be doing a podcast this evening on that very topic.
But to also do the flip side of it, I know we've talked about it a lot. Hitting the second part of that transaction is important, right? So we get Muriel out. Great.
Hell yeah.
We've got to find the person right behind him, and I'm sure that Ricardo's got a list of guys that he wants to go after, right? I'm sure there's a list that exists and who they're going to go after and all that. Do I think it's Richarlison? No, I don't think it's Richarlison, and I kind of hope it's not, honestly. But I think what the Richarlison thing does, and I think this is the way we have to start thinking, is I think he's looking for a certain type of DP. So what I think is happening here is, obviously he's Brazilian, so there might be a bit of a connection there, of course. But I think the other thing is that Richarlison would put butts in seats, right? And so there's an ownership part of this where I'm sure the owners, to a degree, would say, well, hey, we can recoup some of this money that we're shelling out for this guy if we can sell jerseys, if we can sell merchandise, if we can get people into the stadium. I'm not saying that's the right approach or that's exactly what they're telling, Ricardo to do, let's say, but that's got to figure into the equation of what's happening here. And so to me, I think the best way to put butts in seats is you win games, you win trophies, you do all of those kind of things. But you can't deny that a guy who's on the Brazilian national team is not going to bring people in to go do that. And again, he's not my top choice, but there's a profile they're looking for, right? And I think I like the European interest part of it too, because we don't tend to get a lot of high-profile guys from Europe. It's just not our bag normally. So I like that we're looking for that, but to me, it's got to be a guy that's maybe has a little bit of name recognition, because that kind of looks like what the front office is looking for, but then also is somebody who is going to score, put goals in the net, because again, if we're looking to fill that with a striker, which I imagine we will, because we'll only have Duncan at that point, so we got to get help. That's the way we got to do it.
What are your thoughts, John, real quick?
I agree. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think, again, it's about we're reloading, we're repositioning all of the assets in the team. And the whole point of doing that is to free up wage budget, right? And there's no bigger waste of wage budget than Luis Muriel. And I always think about the fact that Ojeda is making not even half of what he makes a year. And Ojeda is by far our MVP. So if you then think about that from a player perspective, and they know that because it's public knowledge, and they, how do you justify not, I think you're going to have to pay up, Ojeda at some point, and Marco Paslic, because they're going to be like, hey, we're worth more money if you're paying this guy. But the better thing to do is remove that and say, well, we took him away because he was on crazy money and it wasn't good value, and you guys we really value. So maybe Ojeda moves up to being, $2 million a year guaranteed or something like that, and it all makes more sense. And then you're able to spread that more evenly across the team. I mean, that's a theme of what we're doing here, right? It's the whole point of this is we're reshuffling what we can do inside of the constraints of the roster budget so that we can maximize every position and not have wastage, because sadly that's what Luis Muriel became.
Yeah, and just to kind of conclude on this particular part, I do, and we'll read your comments in just a second. I know Richarlison is a name that a lot of people like. Again, that's perfectly fine. Great. In my opinion, I personally don't like what he could add into the team when it comes to attitude. I think it kind of matches what we find with Luis Muriel. If you think about it in a logical way, he's Brazilian. You're going to get two young Brazilian starlets. You're going to have a Brazilian front office. It's just, in a way, I think he could become comfortable, and we've seen what sometimes Richarlison could be when he's injured and comfortable. He's had some issues when it comes to obviously not being as disciplined as any other players from Brazil. He's definitely a talented player. I just feel like he had more to give than just staying in Tottenham for so many years. And the reason why he's staying at Tottenham for so many years is because probably he doesn't have the talent to go to a bigger squad than Tottenham. So, with all due respect to Tottenham fans, I'm just, it's just a Chelsea would never target him, probably targeting Grealish before him and all of that. But what I'm trying to say is, if you're looking for name recognition and you're looking just for a 1-year deal, 2-year deal max, and you want somebody that's a workhorse, and you truly want somebody that's going to take care of his body and be resting and be that 9 that's going to resolve all our issues, because we have fast-paced attackers from the middle, from the flanks. He's just going to finish it off. Better deal. I know it sounds kind of weird, but a better deal when it comes from jerseys and name recognition and butts in seats is Robert Lewandowski.
Yeah.
Marco Reus is in LA, 36 years old. Marco is 37, I believe. 2 more years, 39. Dude still looks like a stud.
I think Lewandowski is going to like LA or New York or Miami. I just think he's that big. I don't want to belittle us, but I just think he's that level of player.
Work ethic better.
Well, the Miami thing came out today that apparently it was just real estate opportunities. Apparently there was like this whole Polish clique that just said he wasn't interested in
They're going to offer grass. They're going to offer grass to him.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Maybe they're part of that deal. But I mean, here's my thing, and this is what I said about Lua earlier today when people were talking about it and whatnot.
I literally never heard that abbreviation until today.
Yeah, I think it's just easier so people don't have to type out his name every single time. But I think the thing about it is like, I will say this, and no offense to Chicago or Chicago Fire fans, but I think we're a better destination than Chicago is. Like, I know they beat us. I know everyone can say their piece this past year and whatever, but I think if you're talking about the two different ones, if he's really looking for a club that maybe he can ride off into the sunset afterwards, but still give us a year or two of a high level, Orlando might be it. I mean, when he sees all the pieces around it and everything like that, yeah, like to Luis's point, it's probably a pretty tantalizing opportunity for him to come here and do that if he wants to do that. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I think someone in Europe is going to throw a bag at him, or Saudi's going to throw a bag at him, and it's not going to matter, and he's going to get all this money anyway. So,
look, if you put it in a kind of, you balance it out. You win with Richarlison, maybe he's in a good age. He has potential. He could be definitely somebody that could score more than 20 goals in a season. But also you have the bad side of Richarlison, which is lack of work ethic, party. I don't want to come to train today. I don't feel like it. And he has had some issues, right? And Lewandowski is, you wake up at 6, you go shoot, you go train, you go to the gym, then you go eat a Greek yogurt, because it's better for me. And then you go run, and then you go read a book, and then you go to train, So the dude, it's more, he's been in his career. The reason why he plays in FC Barcelona is because his work ethic is spot on. It's kind of like, in a way, kind of made out of the same mindset of Cristiano and Messi. Like, he's able to take care of his body better at an advanced age, but still guarantee you no less than 13 goals a season, 14 goals a season. So I'm just saying, I know it's super far-fetched though, but
it has to be like a combination. I think David's right in the sense that you have to justify, like, hey, we're going to spend 10, 15 million on a name that will bring us, jersey sales and put butts in seats. And I think that's fine. I think we can do that. And I think also they have to be young enough to be able to contribute and fit enough and hungry enough, right, to actually want to care. Like, we're talking about that as the thing. So they have to be motivated. Like, you need Nani, essentially, is what you need.
Exactly.
And that is a special combination. And even I would like a younger that, like, Nani was really fit, but he was older, right? I'd still like to get like a 29, 28-year-old in. So Heung-min Son is the perfect example. Mueller is a perfect example. I'm not saying we can't do that as our market. we can, but it's hard to find that right
So
guy.
so here's the name. Here's the
can
name I threw out.
contribute. And
Here's
I'm
the
not
name I
sure
threw out
Lewa wants to
today.
come here. That's all.
Here's the name I threw out today, and I know some people are gonna roll their eyes, but Memphis Depay is looking for a way out of Corinthians. He's had
I
a
wouldn't
heck of a
say no to
season.
Memphis. Yeah.
He's had a heck of a season down there. Apparently, Corinthians hasn't been paying him what he's supposed to be getting paid and things like that. I'm just saying that's a guy in that mold that's going to go and change the game for you. He just plays the game differently. He plays it at a different level. He's going to put butts in seats. He's gonna justify whatever the cost is. And plus, I think he's out in the summer, so you really wouldn't have to pay that much for him if you wanted him at the beginning of the season. And if he wants to stay fit for the World Cup, guess what? The World Cup is here. So I'm just saying. I know there's probably other guys like that, but those are the folks you got to be looking at where they're in these like weird situations where they might be out of a club soon, or maybe their club situation is not great. I know like the James thing. I wasn't a big fan of the James move, and I was hoping he wasn't going to come here. But it's a situation like that where he was like coming out of contract and he was looking for a place to go to and kind of lining it up. Because the other thing with Lua is he says he's not going to make a decision until Barcelona makes a decision with him. So this could be another 6 months before he even goes and makes a decision. And we need a guy now. We don't need to wait 6 months to replace Muriel.
We could bring Urgent Kara back.
Oh boy, I'd rather bring Daryl DK back. He's wasting away on West Brom's bench. I'd rather bring him back.
Though, Urgent Kara with this team, like he would,
he would
be good. Like he would do it. Like I think he got a bad rap because
maybe with Pasalic here, they can have the European connection. It'll all work out that way.
I feel like if you fed Kara, he scored goals. We just didn't. We needed a forward at that time in Oscar's system that could do everything on his own. But right now, I think we have more attacking players that we could have that kind of. So if they were a guy that actually put the ball in the back of the net, because
only goal we got on a long throw, so we'll give him credit for that.
Yeah,
only goal we got was from him on a long throw. So
Luis, you want to read a few more comments?
Yeah,
and then I've got
this is
something
here.
To share with you guys.
Welcome to the pod, David. Says John Stahl, Vapor 79. I don't think Richarlison is happening this year, but next year could be lining up nicely if Spurs finish bottom of the table and his contract is up. Probably way too expensive for MLS anyway. Now, fans are also going to tell you there are times that Richarlison makes me, scream out of the top of my lungs, and he gives me, really great golazos. But then there's also times in which you ask why you do that, Richarlison. Frankie Cosmos, is Christian Espinosa worth a DP contract? We'll love to see him with his team. I don't know if a Christian
he is, but not for this team because I don't know where you'd play him because he's played both sides for San Jose. Yeah, you can't play him at the 10 because you had an MLS caliber 10 MVP caliber 10 last year.
No one wants to give him a DP contract, but he is worth one. So he just needs the right team. Like I don't know why no one's giving
Houston.
him a deal.
There's always
I think he's going back to South America, honestly.
No, he wants to play with the world. He wants to play with a team that can win something. He's not going to go to Houston.
Like I see like Tigres getting him or something like that.
Lewa at 37 is in better shape than Prime Muriel, 110%.
And he'll care. He would actually care, I think, is the other thing.
Vapor 79. I just want a big name who's here to bring everyone with him, like Jo Heung-min Son. There's just not a lot of those guys out there. You're completely right, Vapor, and not only that,
big Brazilian names is they're not like interested in playing.
Well, plus Brazil, with all due respect, some of the Brazilian talent right now, aside of Rafinha, are really not good. Let me be honest with you. Aside of Rafinha, like if you bring me Rafinha, I'll be like, what? We'll play Tiago as a 9. Bring me
Casemiro rumored to go to Austin. I wouldn't go near that one.
Yeah. So, but there's really not a lot. And Memphis Depay will be a great pickup for sure. I think 31. I think is a good age.
I've been working on our depth chart, Luis.
There you go.
To show everybody. Now there's a lot of what ifs here, right? Like I added in our super draft picks. I don't know if they're all going to get a contract. We'll see. I added in kind of what we would have left over after all these deals go through. You have Carlos Coronel, Luis Otávio coming in. You got decent depth. There's some question marks like what's going on with Justin Ellis. We still don't know. Is he really just wanting to go to Europe? If not, like get him a homegrown deal, get him involved because I'd love to see him play some MLS minutes. There's also question mark. We've got Sharon Jabay, but he's going to be out with ACL. We've got Cullen Gusky. We've got Atuesta. Harunya could play there, I think. Jalen Yearwood could be a right back. Our 2 potential center backs. I think really outside of everything that we know is happening and what could happen, we've still got a left back issue. No one is going to be happy to see Adrian Marin start the season. Maybe there's real belief in him, but I think it's risky. And then, a third string goalkeeper still needed. And like we just talked about, this new DP striker that replaces Luis Muriel. I've got Tiago Souza up in that striker position again, but arguably you could really use another out and out young striker to come in potentially as well. Could be another need, but I think if we signed a left back, a DP striker, and a goalkeeper, and we signed all these other guys that we're talking about, and we've recruited, I think we could go with that. But I think there's probably going to be more happenings. I'll say that too.
You want to go at it, David, and then I'll finish up.
Yeah, so there's a couple things I think that I'd push back a little bit on, just because. Well, the first thing I'll say is Nicolas Rodriguez. We've heard the rumors all off season.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's probably going to get a loan, so he probably won't be with us next season. So we'll see how that goes for sure. And then we love Caraballo. I don't know if Poppy's ready to give him that many minutes. So I'm curious to see what happens there. I think if anything, you might see Tiago maybe back up Marco Pasalic when he needs to, because he can play both wings. So I could see him on either side, honestly. The other thing too is I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, John. What's going on with Justin Ellis? We know he turned down, I believe it was 2 offers for a homegrown deal, and he said no. I hope that we're talking to him again this offseason to just kind of see where his head is at, because I'd love to have him as depth somewhere to kind of figure out what we're going to do there. Left back, it's funny. Yeah, I don't think any of us really have faith in Marin. I don't think Reed Brown is ready yet. I saw a decent amount of his games with OCB, and he looked okay, but I don't think he's MLS level yet, so I think he's going to need some more time there. So yeah, I would say left back needs to be addressed. But here's the other thing, to play devil's advocate here. Even if we assume that Mitch Ferguson and Nolan Miller get signed, does it hurt to bring in an MLS veteran center back, maybe to just be there to add some consistency and just make sure that we're good there? I mean, center back and fullbacks are normally one of those things that you can get for kind of cheap in the league, and they're decent backup, so it gives you an opportunity that in case something happens to Janssen or something happens to Brekalo and you don't necessarily want to throw one of the young guys in, it gives you an opportunity. Or let's say the young guys aren't at the level yet. Let's say they need a little more time. That might not hurt for us to have, some kind of opportunity there. But besides that, yeah, I think the rest of it, looks pretty good. Obviously, we'll have to see what happens with Muriel, and we'll have to see what happens with that left wing. So honestly, just that whole left side, because I am curious who ends up starting at left wing, and then I'm curious if Marin is able to come into preseason and have a better showing than what he had last go around. Because I love Brekalo, but putting him at left back again would be just not my cup of tea. I just wish we had more of a pure out and out left back. And I know it's been a while for us, but we got to figure that out eventually.
Yeah. So just to address a little bit of the situation with Nico Rodriguez, I believe it was in the beginning of this month. One of my colleagues from Win Sport, I believe it's Pipe Sierra, he mentioned he's a really big guy, and he's the Tom Bover of Colombia, and he reported what we've kind of hinted here before that. It was when the season ended that he showed not only his social media but also his entourage, so his family, his agent. Hey, you deserve better than that. You are a great player. You deserve to be a starter. You're no, that kind of, we're kind of feeding him, a bunch of stuff. And because he's such a young kid, he ate it up. So he felt a little bit shafted, lack of minutes. He was upset with his lack of minutes during the 2025 season. He felt like he could have provided more. I just really thought he was fairly green, in my opinion. So in Colombia, they're reporting that Millonarios, which is one of the big teams there in Colombia, from Bogota, they're interested in a loan for him. So they said on that side that Orlando City is open to loan him out. Millonarios was one of the teams that were interested in having him when Orlando when he was signed, to Orlando City. So there's a possibility that Orlando makes that happen for him. He's definitely doesn't seem like David was saying open to be with Orlando City. So I think that's what's going to be it. Which brings me to my point on here. I think it's great. I think Tiago will see him in the right or the left. I think he's going to definitely be one of the starting wings for sure. I think Caraballo should. I mean, I guess it depends a lot on Oscar. I like Gustavo better than Nico in my opinion. I think he should be in the depth chart for sure. We'll see what Yutaro Sukada is. I think right now, to be realistic, is Tyrese Spicer and Ivan Angulo right there. And probably Tiago, if anything, he plays left winger. So I will say maybe Tiago is on there. Tiago and Tyrese Spicer are right there on the left. And then Ivan is on the right with right below Marco. So I think that's how it's going to be next year. I think Tiago's on the left. Ivan is on the right. And Gustavo is going to duke it out with Ivan Angulo. I feel like it's going to be Gustavo duking out with Ivan Angulo. And then just like David and John said earlier, I think Tiago and Tyree are going to be fighting for that starting spot on the left wing. Now, I feel like we need a backup for Martin Ojeda. I think Eduardo Atuesta can certainly help there as depth, but I would like to kind of prepare for the worst, I think I would like to, if Martin has another monster season like last year, I have there's huge probably, or he may leave the MLS, you know what I mean? And we got to get ready for that. And so I think, I don't know if Harvey's going to make it. A lot of people, I've talked to a lot of people from that university, from Wake Forest, they call him the Truth. That's how they call him, the Truth Sarayajan. So, I mean, I don't know. It depends on what Oscar, but I feel that they need to look for a backup 10. Maybe Gustavo can go in there too. We'll see. But we definitely feel like Mitch and Nolan right in the back line are going to work. I think hopefully I see them back. And I do feel that we need another center back. MLS ready center back, and then definitely also a new left back, because be completely honest with you, I really don't know if I'm confident with Adrian Marin as a starter for next year. And just like David said, I don't know if Tahir Reed-Brown is
Let's
ready.
Go sign Sam Vines. Let's do that. Go spend some cash money in the league that you could do now. Just go spend or spend, if we got enough, Garber bucks laying around. He's one like really underrated left back for Colorado. Why not? Like we don't need to go fix this with a foreign player. You can go find a good enough left back in MLS. He would be the one that I would go after, but it's not. I think for me, the fullback positions are something we can shop internally for. Like we've had a lot of poor foreign fullbacks. We've had a stream of foreign fullbacks. The last one that was really good for us in the league was like João Matinho, and he came from LAFC. So
when he was healthy,
why not just go get a guaranteed this left back will work in MLS, because he's already been in MLS. We keep going after guys that are not a sure thing at this position, and it's killing us. We haven't had a good left back in years. So just go out and get someone will do well in that position.
Yeah, we definitely need a left back and a right back. I think an MLS bet as a center
right back could be an issue if they don't.
Yeah,
if Alex is gone.
Yeah, left back and right back, because if Alex leaves, then your depth would be that new right back that you're signing and Sakari Taifi. Now Taifi, he's been training. He's been right now. He's on vacation. He's been in Morocco enjoying life and visiting family, I'm sure. But and watching that golazo from the Moroccan national team, and Morocco is they're definitely, if you're into sports betting, which I don't recommend, definitely, Morocco is definitely a team that's gonna make you a lot of cash. But Sakari Taif is definitely, I think, ready for some more minutes. I don't know if they're going to be signing Jalen Yearwood. I hope they will. If they are, I think it'll be a great pickup as well. Now, when it comes to the mid, I think you are spot on right there. I think that's what's going to be next year. I don't know if Isa Haruna will be part of the first team. But Otavio, Gerbe, for
I'm
sure.
making a lot of guesses. This is a lot of what ifs in this depth chart.
Yeah, well, I think the mid is spot on. I think.
Yeah, I mean, we don't like so many of these draft guys. Are they going to even get a
Except
contract?
I mean,
Some of them
I
are
don't
going
know
to go to
if Isa will be
OCB.
playing the first team though, but I know for a fact the
There's
rest
still
of
a
them
lot
are
of question
spot on.
marks, but you can start to see the makings of what we're going for, I think.
Okay, so this is here RGAM3675. So who's gonna be our playmaker, run the offense? Martin Ojeda, sir.
The MVP candidate, baby.
That's right, Martin Ojeda. The truth Ojeda. La verdad. Frankie Cosmos, is it crazy to think Marco could play some right back minutes in a post Freeman world? No, I don't. That would be no.
Wing back maybe, but we don't play that formation.
Yeah.
I just don't think with a guy that you spend that much
I
money,
don't
you
know.
don't want to put
Even
him away
wing
from
back,
goal.
like he
That
goes
would be
inside
want to put him
every
away from
time.
goal.
That would be if I see that.
Nah,
Yeah, that's not.
that
That's
won't
not.
happen.
That would be a nightmare.
While we're here, does anyone in the comments have any reaction to any of the guys that we drafted? Of course, we put all those videos out on each of them, but are there any who you guys most excited about? I mean, we talked about it in the video, but for me, I think center backs. I think if anybody's going to get contracts here, it's these center backs.
Personally, on a personal note, Mitch Ferguson, Nolan Miller, and Jalen Yearwood, I think that's what I'm more excited about. I think those are, like David was saying, ready players for the amount of minutes they got. And out of the three, I think Mitch and Nolan are ready to start. I mean, they come from the MLS Next Pro route, starters in the MLS Next Pro, one from Portland, one for Columbus, both really competing. So I think that route probably is the safest. I'm kind of intrigued on Sarah Gian. They call him the Truth. We'll see. Isa Haruna also is a question mark. We'll see. But I like Mitch and Nolan. What about you, David?
I'm a Yearwood guy. I told you guys in the video series, he was my guy. He was my sort of dark horse to kind of put it together, and I think he's going to be really good. I think people are not going to know too much about him, but I'm telling you guys, when you see him on the pitch, he's going to have another level. He's just that good, really. And then also, like, over the last couple of days, I did some reviews of my film study. I also got my article posted. If you guys didn't see it, I broke down all the picks and talked about where I think they fit in. So if you have time, I'd love you all to check it out. You can see that on my blog that I have linked on Twitter. But Harvey's growing on me, and he's growing on me pretty hard. And I think one of the things that I kind of changed with my perception of him was I really think you can drop him into striker and get a successful striker out of him. I think his sort of, like, I know we talked about it in the videos, but his intangible sort of knowing where to be at the right time and knowing where the ball is going to be. I don't think he's going to be the most physical striker, but I think he's a guy that's going to pop up in the right spot and be able to put the ball in the net. So I like that if he can kind of develop it. Maybe he's the backup 10 for Ojeda when he gets up to speed, but then maybe he ends up being sort of a different look off the bench at the striker position. I feel like that's something to kind of keep in mind when you're looking at it too. I also would love to, some of the UCF guys didn't get drafted. I was thinking about this the other day. I would love if maybe we wanted to invite them into camp if they're still in Orlando and they don't plan to go back to school or anything like that. I think it'd be a pretty awesome gesture by the club if they invite some extra guys.
I feel like
into camp.
they're worth a OCB contract. Both those guys they didn't get drafted. Like, why not?
They both have an extra year though, so that's my only thing, is that I think they might be hesitant to do that if they want to play one more year with UCF. So they might just say, we're good. But if I'm the club, I still give them a call and just see what they want to do. I mean, my total draft crush was the 10 who played for UCF. His name's escaping me right now, but he was my total draft crush. So I would love to see him into camp.
Alador?
Yeah, he was my big guy. Like, and I think he was like second in assists in the country. So like, he's my guy. If we could bring him in, I'd be over the moon.
Oh, that'd be great.
About that. Yeah.
We got Vapor 79 saying, Yeah, but has anyone figured out why Ojeda seemed to take his foot off the gas at the end of the season? Concerning, I feel, and then we can have the guys respond too. I feel on a personal level that I think he was doing a lot of double duty, running back, defending, tracking back, and because think about it, we went down Jordan Gerbay, and then we had a Tuesta playing defense, which was like you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and so there was a lot of double duty. Then the back line was also doing a lot, and both of them are aging and doing double duty work, and it just didn't work out. And I think Martin, he ain't gonna just carry the whole entire team in his back. Everybody has to pull their own weight. I think now having somebody like Otavio and having somebody like Cartagena back, a healthy Gerbe, hopefully, which he's probably going to be sidelined by the time the season starts, which we'll talk in just a second. Hopefully, we'll be better then. But it says here, Nolan Miller looks like a Twilight vampire, says Frankie Cosman.
He kind of
Team
does.
Jacob or Team, what is it called? Team Jacob or Team what?
Wasn't he a Wolverine as well? Like, isn't
Yeah,
there
Team
like
Edward.
See Team Edward for sure. Yeah.
There you go. Landon says, "Do we know when preseason starts?" Yes. So the Lions, the Lions are supposed to report into the training complex in Sanford or right there in Australia Heritage Park on January the 10th, I believe. And the reason is because the league is starting a little early because of the World Cup, and so
February 21st is our first game.
February 21st is the first regular season game.
So,
New Year.
So I'll say this about Ojeda. The dude played 3,500 minutes last season, so that's probably why you saw a drop off. Last season, the only other season where he was close to that number, he played 2,300 minutes when he was still in Argentina. So the guy put in 1,000 more minutes than what his max was.
It's crazy.
Poppy just didn't rotate, and honestly, I don't know.
And I didn't have anyone to put in there though. Like no one else could do what he did. So
yeah,
I get it, but it's a lot on him. I think one thing we haven't discussed here, we're just kind of taking for granted, but I'm really excited about Carlos Coronel, man. I'm very excited to have a new goalkeeper. Like we've been so long with Pedro, and like he was incredible, but sometimes just having a new player in a new position is exciting. So let's see. I think it's a great pickup, and I'm really excited to see. Oh, obviously, it's got to get over the line. We actually need to see this confirmation from the club if we're just acting like he's here. But I'm excited for him. I think he's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting pickup for Coronel. Definitely good in the wallet as well for what he can do. A change of atmosphere for Carlos Coronel. Going to face his old club on the first game back in the
opening day.
So hopefully it's a W for the Lions, and hopefully he's able to win the wall, right? Definitely his stats make a lot of sense, and his stats are what is really his selling point for him as a player. And yeah, he didn't work out in Europe, but neither did Pedro. I mean, Pedro never played in Europe. He never played in Europe. Orlando was really the first big club that gave him a chance. Even Mexico, he didn't get a chance. So I think it's a new beginning for Coronel. I'm excited too. I think it's going to be great. And you have to understand, this is a player that's Otero is going to also get a lot of minutes. You're going to see him having a lot of minutes because Paraguay is a pretty big team in South America. They're going to play a lot of games, and more than likely Coronel is going to be going to the World Cup as well. So facing Team USA, which is going to be pretty crazy. So what are your thoughts there, David, on Carlos's welcoming to Orlando City?
Yeah, I mean, you can't hate the move at all, right? Top 3 keeper last year, top 3 keeper the year before that, top 5 2 years ago. I mean, the guy is just constantly in the numbers. He's like half of what Pedro was on. Even if he gets a little bit of a bump, he's still going to be lower than what we had Pedro on. So, as the national folks like to say, he's a guy that gives you a really high floor, and so that's all you're really looking for. At the keeper position, and plus we keep the South American flair that's kind of back there, which has kind of, helped us through and all that stuff. So I can't be mad at it at all. He'll have to win over the wall a little bit, because I heard there was some shenanigans a few times that he's come here and done his thing. But you start making saves and winning games, the wall's going to back you pretty quickly. So
That's right. We have some comments, and then we'll go into the next topic. It says, I really like they drafted 3 guys that were 6 feet tall. The Brazilians also above average. This team got physically significantly bigger this offseason. Yeah, we need to score more goals off the set piece. That's one thing that we really sometimes when the game is so choppy and back and forth, you need to be able to win it that way. But with that being said, we're getting vertical already with Tiago, and we're going to continue to get vertical now with Tyrese Spicer, which it's definitely exciting to say. He's right now our number 1 left winger right now per sources. Tyrese has been extended his contract to a new deal. John, what are your thoughts on having Tyrese Spicer back? I think Trinidadians are running wild here in Central Florida.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's interesting because it's like, oh, we already, like, from an outside perspective, you're like, wait, we just signed him. Why are we giving him a new deal? But like, we just acquired him from Toronto on the same deal, and now we're actually giving him this new contract, which apparently Toronto didn't want to give him. So I imagine this was already preordained in the sense that you come to us and prove yourself for 6 months and we'll give you that contract. A lot of people are excited. I think it's just another sign that this left wing position is his to lose going into the beginning of the season, and we expect big things from him this year.
What about you, David? Terry Spicer signing a new contract.
Yeah, gotta love Spicy T coming back, getting the money that he's deservedly should have got. I think it's a big old egg on Toronto's face for letting him walk, because they wouldn't sit there and do a contract with him. I think that's really silly at this point. But I think the biggest thing for me for Spicer is continue to the hot season that you had, continue it into this year, right? Go into preseason, take all the confidence that you got from the end of last season. He had some nice games with Trinidad. Also, I don't know if you guys watched those at all when he was down with Trinidad. He had a really nice game against Jamaica, I thought, until he got hurt and they had to pull him out. But really awesome stuff there. So I love I love that. And I think that he brings a different type of left wing, right? He's a different type of left winger compared to Angulo. So it gives us an opportunity to really do that. And then also, if we end up shopping Angulo, which I know is something that I've advocated a little bit online, I doubt it's going to happen. But at this point, since your cup runneth over with left wingers, why not try to get some of Don Garber's funny money and maybe help with the roster? Or if you can get, a cash for, as they like to call it, where you can just get somebody to pay you a transfer fee. I'm not advocating for players to necessarily get shipped out, but Angulo's days might be numbered anyway. So why not try to get some money out of that and repurpose it into the rest of the roster?
I have a question for you guys. I feel like it's either, like, if that happens, it's either Angulo or Nico Rodriguez that would go out. Like, I don't think you would feel like you're comfortable of moving both of them on for the season. So that's my question. Would you rather move on Angulo permanently, or would you rather keep him around to cover and then be able to loan out Nico and see if that helps him? I don't know. I just feel like they won't do both, but maybe you are right in the sense that we're going to have too many wingers and something's got to budge. So which one would you like to see?
Look, I feel fans are going to say Angulo right away. I just think Nico Rodriguez right now, I think he's completely checked out. As a depth piece, to be my third piece, I will go for Angulo because he's proven he can defend. I mean, last year he did. He's already part of the system. He's he's not probably going to give you a lot offensive threat per se, but I mean, he has some. We could utilize him. He's a team guy. He's going to follow what Oscar says. He's going to have a lot of kickback. I think you can get a little bit more of him being a third piece in the depth chart when it comes to Nico Rodriguez, I still feel the kid's green, but just his head's too big. And when you have that issue, when your head's too big and you feel like people owe you something and you're owed an opportunity, and you start comparing the league that you used to play to the MLS and complaining about how in Colombia we play the real soccer and things, just that type of stuff. It's just you shoot yourself in the face, when you kind of do those type of comparisons. And that's kind of what some of his entourage have kind of fed onto him and why he deserves more. And I think you make that assessment playing in the pitch. And when he's had the chance, aside of that goal that he keeps repeating and clipping out and showing his friends that he had, he hasn't really contributed a lot. I mean, to be completely honest. And I don't think, and if the fans want to win now, I would rather have an Angulo as a third piece of the depth chart. He's definitely gonna give me something, and he's already part of the process, rather than waiting for Nico to be, not green. You know what I mean? And time wise, I think Angulo will work better, in my opinion. So
I think for me, I think I'd do a variation of what you guys are talking about. I think Nico goes just because we've heard the vocal part of it. We know he wants to get out of here. He's probably gone. I think maybe you hold on to Angulo, but maybe you look at the summer. If he's not doing much for you by the summer, maybe you look to move him on then and do something like that. But I think the other one that a lot of people are bringing up, and I've kind of thought about this myself, Atuesta is another guy who's going to be on like 700,000 next season. If he's not going to start, you're kind of letting that money sit on the bench. I don't love that money is sitting on the bench. I feel like we should do something there. So to me, the two moves you make is you loan out Nico. You say, hey, good luck. Have fun in South America. Maybe we put an option to buy on there too if he does well for them and they want to buy him. And then I think maybe you deal Atuesta, whether that's in the league or somewhere else, and then get some of that money back and do something else with it. I know I'm going to pluck on Luis's heartstrings a little bit, but Seb Berhalter is looking to get out of Vancouver if he doesn't get a new contract. So rather have Seb Berhalter over that. Just, not trying to say anything's there, but, putting that out there doesn't hurt.
I would love, I'm not giving up on the Seb Berhalter. That would be nice.
So
that's
I'm
like
just saying,
ultimate.
like, the money could just go to different places. And if we're really looking to reload, one of the ways to do it is, send some more guys out and bring some different guys in. So,
yeah, I'll have to see what happens there. Last thing I want to talk about today before we get out of here, just a legend of the club that people might not all know, but a guy that has been there from the very, very start. Marcos Machado, he announced his retirement last week. He has been with the club since 2010. He was the goalkeeping coach for the club way back in the USL days, and then, worked throughout the academy, eventually working for the OCB, and just, that was his most recent job, doing goalkeeping coaching for OCB. But a little story about him that not a lot of people know. He actually introduced the owner for the club to another owner of the club. So we had Flavio Augusto da Silva's kid was playing in the youth system, and Marcos Machado introduced him to Phil Rollins to talk about ownership. And that's the whole reason that we ended up getting Flavio in the door and getting the money to make all that happen. So a little tidbit there for a guy that, sometimes these unsung people don't always give a shout out, but I want to give a shout out to Marcos because he's had an incredible career. And he's a super nice guy. Here he is with Kaká hanging out, an amazing dude, a definition of, I think, what it means to be an ambassador for us as a coach on and off the field. I think everybody who's met him and talked to him could tell you how nice a guy he is and how great he's been. So I want to say congratulations to him on his retirement, and thank you for everything that he did for this club.
Yeah, I mean, he's been with the club since the USL Pro Days, 2011, just like John was saying. Definitely instrumental in developing Pedro Galese, Mason, Staduhar, Javier Otero. So definitely his retirement, it's, I again, it's a significant shift in the club's technical staff, I believe, culture as well. Kind of ready for new. I mean, experience is great, but also, I think we need fresh ideas, especially on the back end. And I think Machado, gave so much to the team, and I agree. I think him and a lot of the goalkeeping coaches for Orlando City, alongside him, I mean, they made a huge impact into Pedro's life. I know that for a fact. He always has big things to say, because you have to understand, when Pedro came to Orlando, the whole Orlando City realm was really unknown. He didn't know if it was going to be mistreated as he did in Mexico. And I think these guys put him in such position to take the number one spot with such responsibility that, that's why Pedro gave a lot of really good moments to the club. So, and he was physically fit. I mean, to a point that the way Pedro trained in Orlando, that's how the goalkeepers in Peru, the national team, train now. They have the same methods, so it translated from club to national team, which is insane to me. So big thanks also from the Peruvian side for Mr. Machado and his input, and he's affected the game of so many, so in a positive way. So forever aligned. David, you want to say anything about Machado?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much. I know he's been around for a little bit. I've seen him here and there and whatnot, but yeah, just lasting impact across all the levels of the organization and things like that. You hate to see somebody like that go, but I hope he enjoys retirement. Really appreciate all the work he's put in for us and put together. And again, this continues our narrative of a new era is coming, boys. We got to be ready for it. So
that's right. We have more comments real quick here. Move Angulo says
Landon's on the Move Angulo train.
It says Vapor agreed. It says cash at me a Wendy's coupon for a Twisted $725K salary. Well, I think I have a feeling a Tuesta, if everything works out, I think he's definitely going to be better. I think this year. I think having somebody like Luis Otávio there, hopefully Wilder, and again, it's unknown if there's going to be any friendly games for Orlando City. I'm assuming probably they will, but
the one season ticket member preview game probably again.
Yeah. So, and again,
let's get two this year. Come on, let's get one more. We can get a second one.
I don't think so.
Come on, listen, I'll spam it all I have to.
We could get Miami FC.
I don't want to do this Miami and Tampa again. Let's not do that.
No, we could do Miami FC. Miami FC from USL. They just signed.
Oh, like a little Florida tournament.
Yeah. They just played two. They just signed two players from Curaçao's national team. They're going to be in the World Cup. So it's a big USL splash because these are players that are going to be starters in the World Cup. Obviously, Curaçao, it's like a really, really.
Well, we've got to play a Brazilian team. You know that's got to be on the cards. We're going the Brazilian flair this offseason. You figure we guys got to be one.
Yeah, the Florida Cup will be back. I'm sure they're always here in some capacity. Luis, you want to take us through the socials because we got to go do the Pride Pod.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for your support. We are Loud and Proud Orlando. We are available on all social media outlets. We are available in YouTube, Facebook, also X, Instagram as LPO_podcast, also on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Click on the notification bell for all notifications. Make sure you drop us your comments after the video it's uploaded, and we'll respond to you on the next episode. So make sure that you are doing that and supporting our channel. Also, don't forget to follow David at FlatDoodler18, also OC Reddit. Make sure you're joining that. And also John Rollinson's channel, Forever a Lion. It's going to be right there on YouTube. A lot of great interviews. John, you want to add anything before we go?
No, just the off season continues. I hope everybody has a great Christmas. And I'll see you guys in the new year.
All
or
right,
before then,
David,
maybe.
anything you want to add?
No, just happy holidays, everybody. Thanks, boys, for having me on. I really appreciate being a part of this. Love talking some Orlando City, and yeah, just hoping for have a great holiday with your family and your friends and your loved ones, and just excited for a new year.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody. Hopefully, all of you are spending a well-deserved time with your loved ones. And if you don't have them with you or close to you, there's always a phone call. There's always a prayer. So thank you to you guys for all your support. This off season, we're gonna continue with more. I'm sure more LPO. Probably some more videos, but enjoy this time with your family. We're definitely going to enjoy ours. And again, we thank you and vamos Orlando. Have a wonderful guy.
Vamos, Orlando.
Vamos.
Right, pod. See you guys in a few.